Peace.
Hey.
What's up, you guys? It's Ariam
And Yodit.
And you're tuned in to deuxsol Radio.
That's right, your favorite twins are back talking all things music and culture.
Because two takes are better than one, but twin takes
are even better.
And we're back in the studio, and we are super, super thrilled because we have a very special guest.
Yes,
we have celebrity makeup artist, entrepreneur, beauty expert, content creator. The list goes on and on. Please welcome Delina Medhin.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
That was a nice intro.
I mean, it's true. We have a very special guest.
We have to do it up for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the doing it up. I love it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us, making time to chat with us and giving us the opportunity to get to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. How is it working as sisters together?
It's actually really great.
Yeah?
Honestly,
Okay.
I think Yodit and I get along really well, except when we're not. But but honestly, being twins, we're just really close.
Yeah.
And we've always been close. We have a lot of similar interests. And I think being identical twins and just having that synergy naturally.
Yeah.
I think working together makes it really easy.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's in us.
Yeah.
To just flow.
And it's really interesting because, like when you see sisters in any profession, like working together, there's something that I can see and relate to. Like when you think of like Chloe and Halle or like other like siblings, like, Serena and Venus, like when there's like a interest that brings them together, there's like a deeper love for it. Yeah. So it's always fun. And it's definitely a blessing for sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's like, it feels like I have a sister, but it feels like, so it's so funny because she's always been interested in fashion. I've always been interested in makeup, but like, I always think about the synergy of like working together.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's different to grow up together and then also to decide that you want to like work together and create something together.
Yeah.
But the support I feel like is like, I think she believed in anything I did before it was actually cool. Like before it was actually a thing.
Yeah.
Like I was putting green eyeshadow all over her eye and she was like, oh yeah. She was like, it's cool, thanks.
Yeah, I see it.
but you know about it, like no one's gonna support you and like root for you more than your family.
Totally.
And also, a lot of the time, your family can be honest.
Yes.
And you need that, right? Like
you need that transparency and you need that feedback.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you have people around you, whether it's like friends or peers, like they'll, sugarcoat things just in support of you. It's not like ill-intended at all. Like they want to support you, but sometimes there's nothing like getting that real-time feedback from your sister because she'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And then when you get that feedback, like you really trust it. So that's always a perk.
It's honest.
Yes.
And not sugarcoat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
it's
I
real.
have this thing where I literally cannot lie to Yodit. Like it's
you have tells or you can't lie at all.
So there's the white lies, whatever. That's anyone, but Yodi can she'll give me this look and I swear she's reading into me and the truth just spills out or I'll just start smiling.
Yeah, she
and
can't it's really you can't hide your face.
Yeah.
Especially around your siblings.
Oh, for sure.
You really can't hide your face.
No, you can't.
So tell me what you really mean and then she'll tell me what she means. Yeah. So it's definitely that telepathy that people talk about. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But enough about us. Delina. We need to talk about you.
Okay.
As Ariam mentioned, you have so many different hats that you wear, right? And so before we get into what you're up to now, we'd love to learn just a little bit more about who you were growing up. Who was Delina as a child?
Man, I was naive as a kid. I think that's a good thing as an entrepreneur. Okay. I feel like I was very it helped me later because I think then I had this idea that things would be easier than they were. I would always be like, oh yeah, I can do that. The one thing I'm thinking of sisters, I remember when my sister and I, we were on this like vacation, and this is obviously a little bit older, but there was like an opportunity to ride this jet ski. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine. And she said she just saw my little legs like flying off in the back. Like I was like not, I was just like, yeah, I can do it. I can do the jet ski. Like, it's just like, I think I just always had this feeling like, oh, I can do that. You know, not to say like doubt never existed because I'm a human being.
Right.
But like.
But you always had that like confidence.
Yeah. I was like always, I mean, I don't know if it was confidence. I think it
Or
was
maybe
more
like
just like.
willingness to try.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's more of it.
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
really
I think the confidence
holding you
came
back,
later.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's no fear of like holding back.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it was probably pretty naive. I don't know. What else do I think about myself as a kid? I was curious a lot too. I think that just being curious is something that drives me. Even now, like I always want to know the answer to stuff. And I always want to ask questions.
So being curious, did that lead you to trying different things when you were younger?
Yeah, I did. I tried a lot of different things. So I worked at a counter, at a makeup counter. My first job, I was working at a taco place in the mall, not in the mall, in the airport. Because I feel like as Habesha kids, you know a lot of, we work at the airport.
Right,
Come on, man, that's where
You
I
know
grew up.
somebody that works in the airport, believe
It's
me.
either the airport or
Believe
the
me.
mall or,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
So I was in there, I was like making tacos and stuff as a kid. And
I can imagine little Delina.
oh my gosh. And then the craziest part is like people would come in that I knew from school and I just like pull my hat down and be like, please don't recognize me.
Why is that? It's so funny. Like when you are a teenager,
You're like,
why is it embarrassing to have a job?
making money.
Or seeing people outside of school that are not necessarily your,
Your
friends.
friends.
There's something inherently cringe about it. I don't know why. Or like seeing a teacher in public, like it's kind of weird. Like outside.
Oh, teachers by far weirdest.
Weird.
It's very weird. Even now to know that they have lives. Like, do you have any
You
friends that are
exist in
teachers? You're like, this is
school.
so strange.
Like you have a life outside of those four walls.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
But you should be proud.
Right, you
know,
was
you're getting your
working.
Yeah, I was working,
coin.
man. I was getting my coins together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had that mentality
I did
from
that.
a young age.
Yeah. I worked in a mall. I did makeup at a mall. I finished school. I went to NC State. I got my degree in chemistry. And it was like 2007. So there were like no jobs available. Like, I mean, it was kind of like 2007, 2008, there was kind of like this financial crisis.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, kids who were coming out of school in like 2004, 2005 were like getting these incredible signing bonuses and going to work for these finance companies.
Wow.
And then by the time it hit like 2007, 2008, all my friends were going back to school. They were going and getting master's degrees. And, you know, people were just like, what else could I do? And so for me, I was like, I'm going to go work at the mall. My parents were so crushed. They were like, what is this? They were like, what is going on? My daughter, she's going to work at the mall.
Because that in their eyes, you know, you're educated.
Yeah.
You got to higher education.
Yeah.
You should be having like this X job, you know, but sometimes, you know, life leads you to different places.
Totally.
Life
Yeah.
be lifing sometimes.
Life be lifing. Oh my gosh, my best friend says that.
Listen,
She's like, life be lifing.
that is like the best expression right now
Yeah.
because literally life be lifing.
Yep.
Actually.
Yeah.
So you worked at a makeup counter?
Yeah, so I worked at a makeup counter. I worked at MAC Cosmetics. Like at the time, I don't know if MAC still has the same weight as it had back then, but that was like the place to go.
Yeah.
And so people would go, that you know, you would get your full face done. You wouldn't be worried that your makeup wouldn't look good, you know. They really tested us. You had to actually do like a makeup application to get a job.
Oh.
So it was like a big deal to work there. And then people would we wear heels and stuff. It was just, we were doing way too much. Music was blasting. Like it was a vibe, you
I
know?
feel like it was an era. Like
It was
way
an
to
era.
back, like all y'all dressed in black, like,
Yes.
face beat. Like,
Yes.
it was so inspirational. For
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Like I used to be like, okay, now I gotta get my makeup game
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I mean, you
It
guys
was amazing.
technically were advertising the products, right? Like
Yeah.
you guys are modeling, you know, products that we'd be interested in using. So
Yeah.
in a sense you had to, but you also got to look really pretty.
Yeah.
Like I used to
That's a good
love,
perk.
I used to love the MAC lipsticks, like all of them, like
I still love them.
Yeah.
Ruby Woo.
Yeah, Ruby
Yeah.
Woo. You remember when Riri Woo came out? Do y'all remember that?
No.
Okay, so there was a
Riri
there was a Rihanna version called Riri Woo. Do you remember that?
Ooh.
Yes. It's coming back to me now.
Yeah?
That makes sense. I think this was, you know, pre-Fenty.
Yeah, no, this is way
Era,
pre-Fenty.
but-
Yeah, it was like a big deal. I
That
think
is
this is
a big
when
deal.
Rihanna knew that like she had something,
She had
some
the
money to
pull.
make in the makeup industry.
Mm.
Because at the time, her makeup artist was Mila Morales, and Mila worked with her for years.
Mhm.
And this specific like she would just put her in all these iconic makeup looks. Like we would be like, oh my God, like she did it again, you know? And it was just like all these moments for makeup. And so when that lipstick came out, I remember just people were just going crazy. And then, you know, then eventually she ended up coming out with Fenty Beauty, which was such a big deal.
Oh my
Everything
gosh.
aligned for her.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was aligned.
I'm cooking up something. She's
Yep.
like, this makes
Paying
sense.
attention.
This lane.
Okay, the
this
girls want
lane.
makeup. Okay.
Yeah.
So to be a MAC makeup artist, did you have to like, I mean, you said you made an application, but like, what does that mean? Like, did you have to prove to them that you can do makeup?
Yeah, but I like basically couldn't. Like it was kind of funny. So we had this like, do you guys remember Craigslist?
Yes.
Okay,
isn't
so
it still a thing?
is it?
Still
I mean,
is.
I don't know anybody
Do
that
you use it?
personally
Okay.
uses it, but I didn't know. I mean, is it out of business?
No, I think it might. I think it might still exist. I think it might still exist. But like back then, it was like hotness.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, did you go on Craigslist and find that couch?
You
Like
can find things.
Yeah,
Okay?
it used to be
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
So we had like an internal Craigslist. I went to NC State. And on there, they were, you know, talking about different jobs. And I remember my roommate being like, well, I know you like makeup. Like, why don't you, you know, apply for this job? The store manager for the MAC Cosmetics at Crabtree Valley Mall in Raleigh, North Carolina, was looking for more people to work there. Now, when I tell you, I dressed up for this interview and I looked like I could work there, but I had no skills.
Oh, wow.
I remember I wore these zebra printed like heels.
You were so taking me there.
I was literally like, yes, I'm going to give you all black. Like, I was like, let's
You are
go.
literally taking me there. The visuals are clear as day.
When I seriously,
I live.
when I tell
live.
you, like she
You
was
probably had a bright lip.
of course, you know, and I had to Google at the time. Okay, so this was even I'm taking it out way back. Like this is like before like YouTube was really a thing.
Mhm.
There was this thing called I think it's called Expert Village, and it was like a fake YouTube.
Okay.
And on this, they would show you like how to do makeup. And it would be like step by, and so I was watching it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my makeup like this and go. When I tell you I had one eyeshadow blended out. Like she was looking at me like, girl, I had to come in early for her to do my makeup. Like she was like, I'm gonna do your makeup. She goes, I'm gonna do your makeup so you can look like you know what you're doing. And then like,
But you finessed your job.
yeah, no,
basically.
so literally like I'm in there like selling makeup, but then after that like season, the like crazy like holiday season was over.
Yeah.
She was like, okay. She was like, girl, you can't work here because you don't know what you're doing.
Wait, did they fire you?
Well, it was temporary. It was a temporary job. It was my first job.
Stop.
So then I had to go work at a different counter. So I worked at Lancome for a bit.
Okay.
So that's where I like really learned
about
how to
the
do
product.
makeup. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, totally.
See
yeah.
that willingness to try, the curiosity
Curiosity.
manifested.
I was like
and-
friendly, you know. I was like, yeah, girl, I'll get your swimming eyeshadow.
Yeah. Listen, you got to start somewhere.
Now, you honestly, today, you
Yeah.
could never do what you pulled.
Never.
Because
First of all,
the girlies know
the
they wore
girls know
makeup.
how to do makeup
Yeah,
now.
they would
They
drag
will
you.
call you out. They'd
Yeah.
be like,
They'd be like, No, I remember one time I was there. I was so embarrassed, even at this time. This girl looked at me, she goes, who did your makeup? And I was like, and she was like, I want whoever did your makeup to do my makeup, not you. And I was like, ah! I was like so embarrassed.
Dang.
She knew. So the girls were smart back then.
you
too.
were
Wow.
outed.
I know, I was outed, but
Dang.
yeah, I was basically a paid model when I
You
first
could
started
put that on
working
your
at Mac.
resume. Yeah, I was paid model at the
Yes.
Mac store.
Exactly.
listen.
Yeah, so, you know.
We got to finesse it.
Yeah, but eventually I learned how to do makeup, and I used to come
Obviously.
there. Yeah, yeah.
She's come a long way since then.
Yes.
Yeah, eventually I went to like I used to just go there all the time. I used to like hang out at the Mac counter, and my really good friend used to do drag, and so I used to go to the clubs, and I used to I learned how to do makeup. I was like, I'm gonna
You're
learn.
gonna learn how to do makeup.
Class is in session.
Yeah.
Class was in session. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to fully immerse. I used to come on my days off.
Wow.
I used to come there even when I didn't work there. I was like working at Lancome, and I was like over there looking
just
like
studying.
I'm gonna learn how to do this thing. Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
studying
Like
the
I can
craft.
see you in the show
taking notes.
shadow here.
Yeah, totally.
So
Totally.
you mentioned when you went from school
Mhm.
to working in the mall, how your parents reacted.
Yeah.
And as Ethiopians ourselves, I think our parents would probably react the same way.
Yeah.
Our culture is so beautiful, and our families, they love so hard, they want the best for us. But I think it does, have an influence in even Yodit and I's journey. And I wanted to know, how has your background impacted your journey at all?
Yeah. Well, I think I think I was a little bit different because I think there's a couple routes you can take. You can be like, no, I don't want my, my mom or dad support. I don't need it. I'm fine. Or you could be like, no, I really need your support. And it can kind of like block you in. I kind of was like somewhere in the middle. Like I was like, mom, dad, I need your support. I sat them down. I was like, I really need you to like really rock with me on this because like I need your support. And I think when I finally got to the place where I was able to ask for that, they were like, okay, cool, we get it. But I mean, it was embarrassing for a while because they were like, oh yeah, we got our one daughter who's just like not like really taking life seriously. She's just working at the mall. Like they probably, my mom would never admit it now. Which is kind of like, she'd be like, no, of course, we were always supporting you. Be like, okay, girl.
That's the African way,
You know what I mean? It's like, now they're like,
see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't blame them. They've done a lot. They made a lot of sacrifices.
For sure.
We are all here because of them.
Yeah.
And they always want the best for us. But then when you have a dream and something that's creative, it's hard to comprehend. Like they know one way of success, and
which is stability, structure,
of course,
survival, which comes from their own experiences. So their understanding of success is different than what we see. So like Ariam said, it's definitely something that I feel like now they're coming to learn more and more and have more understanding about than they probably would have had like 10, 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's definitely a great time and a great opportunity for that shift of understanding.
And I'm sure your parents are so proud of you. I mean, like, wow. Like your journey, like from the counter to all these amazing things that you're doing now, like at the end of the day, like you see the vision, and I'm just glad that they can see it too.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the stability that they provided, I think you brought up a very good point. Like when I think about my parents and their ability to be able to like provide a stable house, like I talk about it, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I talked in depth with my mom on like the first episode of It Takes a Village podcast, and I talked to her about stability and like the fact that that was like all she really wanted, and because she was able to create that, I was able to be free to dream and like do all these other things, right? Like if I didn't grow up with that, I don't think I would have really felt free enough to
explore.
Totally. So it's kind of like because they were cautious, I could be free,
right?
So I'm with you on that.
That's a beautiful way worded, like.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of first gens relate to that sentiment of like they have an understanding of what and that compassion for what their parents created for them, and then like we were rewarded with that freedom to explore. So that's a really beautiful thing, and I'm glad you're able to have that conversation with your mom now.
Right? It's so nice.
It's so cool to kind of see it
full circle, kind of. Yeah,
exactly. We'd love to just learn a little bit more about what inspires you, because your content on the receiving end is really inspirational for, the casual scroller. But like, what gives you inspiration when it comes to actually creating your next piece of content?
That is something that I think about all the time, because I think like I really try and make sure that I'm actually sharing something and it's not just look at my face. Because a lot of things that I'm doing is like, okay, I want to make sure that people can pull something from this, they can learn something from this, because to me, like life is about learning, So I want to be able to connect with people and be like, oh my gosh, I found out this thing, let me show you this thing. I think also there's probably a little bit more of being, I try to be relatable, especially in the conversational, when I'm speaking or talking, so that way people know that they can connect with me as a person and not just like the thing that I do. But thank you for saying that. It's really nice of you.
When I actually came across your page, it was during the pandemic, and you can imagine that time, like everyone's minds are all over the place, the uncertainty, the quarantine was really hard. I came across your page on Instagram, and I was just immediately drawn to you. Like you have this kind of like aura about you that's very light and positive. And it was not just a video we were doing a tutorial. You were like talking about life, talking about how you were feeling. And I didn't know how much I needed that in that moment. It uplifted me during like such a, uncertain and kind of a dark time for everyone, honestly.
Thank you.
And you've been so consistent with it too. And that's why I was like, oh, I just love Delina. And I also feel like I know you in a weird way, like
Yeah.
not in a creepy way, but it's, you know, you kind of just like open yourself up, and
Yeah.
you're really inviting, and
Thank you.
I just love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I really enjoy sharing.
Yeah.
Sharing
Yeah.
my feelings.
Right. No, and it's like you obviously have your makeup content, right? But you know, you do cover themes of creative blocks, and you cover themes about like inner work and self-care. And so when did you realize there was space and time for you to explore that within your platform?
Yeah. I think sometimes when you're creating, you just kind of feel like, and I'm sure you all have felt this too as creators, like sometimes there's these thoughts that you have and you're like, I have to get this out.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like if you're not doing that, you're not being yourself, you're not being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like I didn't have a choice. Like I felt like I had to talk about that. Because to me, like makeup, eyeshadow, all of that is a tool for me to have real conversation. And I have really great relationships with the clients that I've had. And like we have, you know, when we see each other, there's love, you know what I mean? And I think that's because we have real conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of makeup, is that it allows me to connect with incredibly powerful people, but also like we all have things, we all have stuff.
Yeah.
And so it felt like I didn't have a choice, to be honest. Like it felt like I just needed to talk about things like other than makeup,
Yeah.
you know?
And then when you're doing one's makeup, it's very intimate. You
It
know,
is very
you
intimate. It's very
are
like right here.
right in their profile, you
Yep.
know? And it's easier when you can connect outside of that, right? Because I think it makes your clients comfortable.
Even for hair, same thing. Like I feel like the same thing applies, especially with that first experience. It could feel like kind of nerve-wracking,
Kind of
because then you want to break
vulnerable.
that ice. You want to get disarmed anyway. And I feel like when the stylist sets that tone, it transforms the entire experience. You know the stylist or the artist is going to deliver because they're a professional, but there's something about that connection that you develop that lasts forever and that leaves a lasting impression. It sounds like that's something that you've discovered through your experiences of working with people, starting from the Mac counter down to your A-list talent. So I think that's really cool that you've been able to work on that craft, and then that comes to life in the content that you create now. I feel like it's so interesting to see that through line. That's dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really,
So
really cool.
how does one go from the Mac counter
Uh-huh.
to beating the faces of Issa Rae, Alana Glazer, you know, so many familiar faces, right? How does one make that transition?
So I think one of the things that has been really helpful for me is talking to, like, I've been working with so many different artists that are already in the community. And I feel like when you start to assist people and then you start to work with other people, and then, you know, people become your peers and they're like, hey, can you cover this client for me? And that's kind of how the relationships happen for me. I wasn't one of those people who slid in people's DMs. I've never done that. And it's like, because I look at that and
The
I
risk
go,
is high. Stressful.
the risk is high.
Yes.
The risk is high. And you know what else too that's really funny is that I've always valued my relationships with my peers more than I valued my relationships with my clients. It's not that I don't value my relationship with my clients, but for me, I was always like, I never want anybody to say she like did some underhanded thing, some sneaky thing to get with this person. I just kind of always wanted to have like a blessing from them. So even like I remember I ended up working, because pretty much if I work with somebody, we're gonna work together again. Like if the vibe, you know what I mean? If the vibe is good, you
y'all
like
vibing.
if we vibe, we're gonna
Yeah.
But I remember one time I worked with somebody and the artist had introduced me, and this new client wanted me to do like her first big cover. And I texted the girl who gave me the intro and was like, hey, just to let you know, this is coming up. I'm not gonna say yes for it, but just wanted to let you know. And I remember thinking, like, because a lot of people were like, girl, why'd you do that? Like, why don't you just take it? You know what I mean? But I was like, it felt like, you gave me the hey, let me intro you to this person. It's not like there's ownership over people, because obviously people are individuals and they get to choose who they want to work with.
Right.
But it's just like, I don't know. I've always been really careful with that, and I think it served me well. I think that's why my business connections are so like smooth and easy. Like I don't have any, and I think it's also why people trust me with their clients. Like the people that they work with regularly, I'll end up working with them, and then, you know, we'll build our own relationship, and then maybe I'll end up doing other things with them. But, you know,
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
I feel like that requires a level of discipline because I think with any form of entrepreneurship, there's that pressure that entrepreneurs put on themselves to say yes to every opportunity or, not be selective. And I think that's really cool that you were able to develop that skill. You were trusting your gut. A lot of people should practice that,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever their medium is.
But I'm also sure that, what's meant for you is meant for you.
Agreed.
Right?
No, for sure.
Yeah,
You're right. And opportunities have still come with that same client that I've gotten and we've done other things. But I think that sometimes like, when something feels right and when something feels messy. You know what I mean? And I feel like anytime you take that thing that's supposed to be right and you make it messy, you know what I mean? It's like you're inviting the wrong kind of energy into your life. And like, I'm like, I don't want that. I'm like, I want it nice and clean. I want to be able to be like, I'm good.
Yeah,
so
no dirt,
Yeah, no dirt, no mess.
No
I don't
mess.
want any mess.
We don't need the mess, okay?
I don't want any mess. Yeah. So, but yeah, that and a lot of my clients have also come from other clients too. So like I've been at, I've created great relationships with my clients. So like, for example, Alana, I met her through Phoebe Robinson.
Okay.
So we were at like a party, an after party for Phoebe, and Alana was there and she was like, hey, what's up?
You actually sounded just like her.
That's kind of crazy.
So
She's
funny.
she's like, what's going on?
Like that mannerism?
Yeah.
I love that.
So then we vibed. And I mean, Alana is an incredible businesswoman. So we vibe on that also. So as is Phoebe. But yeah, I feel like it's just kind of, you spend time with people. I never went out. I came to the city in my 20s and I still wasn't like on, like I'm not a going out and networking kind of girl. I go to things that I'm invited to. I have conversations with people. If it feels like it's something, we talk, we exchange information. But if it doesn't feel like anything, I'm okay with walking away. So I just kind of let the universe do its thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
All things organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That really is. Is there a client that you dream about working with?
That's a good question. You know who I feel like my style and aesthetic would work really well with Zoe Kravitz.
Ooh.
Yes.
I feel like the way I do makeup, the way she wears her makeup, I feel like it would just fit. And that's where I'm at in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, I only want to work with people where it's like my existing style and the way I do things looks good on you.
Okay.
I also think Tessa Thompson could be a vibe too.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. She has a lot of fun with makeup.
She does have a lot of fun with
Yeah,
makeup.
yeah.
And she likes classic, but she plays a little, which is nice. Yeah.
Wait, so how would you describe your signature makeup style then?
I would say classic, very natural. But yeah, very classic. Like when I think about, even when I do my clients' makeup and they're going on Colbert or they're doing like a late night show, I'm like, I want them to look back at this moment and not be like, this was the makeup artist moment. I want them to look back at it and be like, wow, I looked really beautiful. I looked put together. Yeah, because it's like, I mean, it isn't necessarily my goal to be like, oh, wow, I'm doing like the newest, latest, hottest, trendiest thing. I mean, that's cool for the Met. But like when it comes to you're showcasing yourself and who you are, I just want people to be able to say, okay, yeah. Like
You're letting the person
Yeah.
shine through it. Like,
That's my style. I want you to be like, oh, wow, she looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's
That's
just
cool.
like
Not like your face is
enhancing-
beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes the makeup can date you.
It can.
Yeah.
It can. It
Yeah.
can. Definitely. I agree.
Like the makeup
I
I
agree.
was doing in 2011, 2015, even.
The brows.
We've come a
Wow.
long way.
Yeah.
I think cameras have gotten better too, which has helped people.
Yeah.
You know, because
Expose us.
they've gotten better. Cameras have gotten better because before it was like you used to have so much lighting on you.
Yeah.
You know, even think about film like back in the day, like you're talking about like 40s and 50s, like they used to have on heavy pan stick makeup.
Yeah.
Right? Because they needed to show that contour. But if you saw them in person, they probably looked wild.
Scary.
Caked.
They probably look scary.
So, you know, back in the day, you had like YouTubers that had like these huge lights and stuff, and everybody was like, I think when it got exposed is when they started to get, you know, when the world of influencing and celebrity kind of joined together, and then they started getting invited to red carpets, and they were
You
like,
see the difference.
oh, red carpet makeup is different than in your house makeup with all
Yeah.
those lights on. Yeah, so it's,
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any beauty icons that you look up to or admire or even pay homage to the makeup that you do today?
Yeah. I wouldn't say my style is similar to hers, but you know Iman, right?
Mhm.
I just whenever I look at Iman, I'm just like blown away by her
Queen.
beauty. Like
Ugh,
she's
she's a
just
queen.
so stunning. And then you don't really get to see a lot of East African women, you know? So it's just so
She really paved the way.
she really did pave the
really
way,
did.
you know? Like
Yeah.
she made like an East African beauty like a thing where people are like, "Oh, okay. That's
Mhm.
kind of cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like her. I'm trying to think about who else I really like in terms of beauty icons. She's probably more of a fashion icon, but I really like how little makeup Tracee Ellis Ross wears.
Yeah.
She wears like very, very little makeup.
Yes.
It's like almost like you can just, it almost looks like she's wearing no face makeup a lot of
you
times.
can see like her natural like freckles.
Yes,
and,
I
like,
love that.
And I love
it
that.
looks really
I love that
good.
too. I think it's just so beautiful. And
It
it's like,
is.
it's really special because people don't really do that,
Yeah.
you know?
That's very true.
Yeah.
The cool thing about your content specifically is like whenever you do tutorials or you do like hacks or tips, I feel like it's very informative and it's approachable, but it's also really engaging. Like, how do you find the balance in that when you're creating a piece of content?
Okay, I like don't script anything out, you guys. It's like not like isn't that
Really?
crazy? Yeah, no. I'm very like I very much trust my inner voice
Wow.
to just kind of make stuff, which is funny because a lot of people are very like particular and they have like this is the 1, 2, 3 and I got to make it do like this. So it's a little bit harder for me to do like more like kind of like I know where I'm going to start. I'm probably going to start with no makeup on and I'm probably going to end with a full face,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But I know that like I'll just kind of let things go based off of what I'm thinking about. And I give myself that freedom. I also really am comfortable with not owning the whole like being the expert thing. Like I'm allowed to mess up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes if you take the approach, which I have done a few times, like to be like, okay, guys, this is what we're learning today. It doesn't work for me. Because
Right,
I like to
right.
play. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so now I'm not in the sandbox playing anymore. Now I'm trying to like, you know, I could just teach you something as I do it. Or I could be like, ooh, this is cool. I didn't know that was going to do that.
Yeah.
So I can be surprised and learn with you.
Yeah.
So do you know Gary Vee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Gary Vee talks about that. He's like, try not to own the like being the expert thing. He's like, be the student, be the person who's always learning. And then that way you won't get caught up in feeling like everything needs to be too perfect. And you'll not get like, because have you ever been frozen when you're creating? Where you're just like, you feel like you're in the middle of an idea, right?
Yeah.
And I think that happens when you're being like, oh, I have to be the expert. They have to trust me. How are they going to trust me if I'm not the expert? And it's like, no, you could just kind of just share.
But yeah, no, I love
You
that.
know?
That's actually a really good tip
Yeah.
because I think now we're in a time where everyone likes to be like considered an expert
Yeah.
because they want to develop that trust with the audience that they're building. But when you remove that pressure, I feel like that's when the authenticity thrives. And like that makes total sense. The way you just broke that down, it makes sense now when I'm watching your content. I'm like, okay, like it's not that rigid. It's literally you playing. It's literally you learning with us as you create your next look.
Yep.
So I think that's really powerful.
And I'm sure it takes the pressure off.
Yeah. for
Yeah,
sure.
it does. I mean, it's like, oh, sorry. It's like whenever I'm creating, I just try not to put, I try not to put too much on what it's going to be. Yeah, for sure. It makes it easier now. Oh, I also feel like now I have more of a signature style of how I do my own makeup, which helps too.
Yeah.
Because it's like I know what I really kind of want it to look like at the end, you know?
AKA those brows.
Thank you.
They are
Yes.
gorgeous.
I think
you.
they're God given.
They really
The
are.
brows are-
They really are. Like, oh
Yes,
my
that's
God,
one of
they're
those brows.
stunning.
God bless.
I'm
God
like-
bless.
No. But what does beauty mean to Delina?
I think I really feel like what's kept me in beauty is not just like I was saying earlier about the makeup. Like it's not just the makeup; it's like the tool to be able to like connect with people in their inner self, like what they actually want to do, who they want to become. Like I think that you can work with somebody who's like beautiful, right? But to me, I'm not gonna want to work with you again if I don't feel like your soul is beautiful. You know, like if I don't feel like,
Can you say that again?
I was like.
Can you say that again?
So yeah, but you know, like it's like if I don't feel
That got me.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's, you know, I think that people can be a little too impressed with how someone looks and not enough impressed with how like that person treats them. you know? Like, if you meet somebody who's like your idol and like, oh my gosh, this person is like, which I don't really idolize people too, which I think also helps in terms of like the celebrity world. Like I never really walk into a room where I've never walked into a room where I feel less than anybody or I feel more than anybody either, you know? So when I walk in, I expect to be treated as an equal. And when that respect is reciprocated, then we can create a connection and I can work with you again. If I don't feel like that respect is there, I'm not gonna be there. And that's what the real beauty to me is like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you really about? Versus like, what do you look like? Because that's genetics. You can work on your soul.
Right.
You know?
Period.
Yeah.
That's the end of the interview, guys.
We're done.
We're done.
We got it all. No, that's powerful for sure. And I think that's great that that's something that you carry with you with all of your experiences through the work you do, because you're right. You're absolutely right. No notes there.
So I wanted to tap back into when you said it matters how you treat others, right? And you recently posted on TikTok, after being an entrepreneur for over 10 years now, all these tips that you were sharing and a whole bunch of other gems. But I wanted you to share a few tips here on the show.
Definitely, everybody's in a different space than what you think. I think when you come to, like, especially I came to New York as like, you know, this young artist. I didn't know anybody, to be honest with you. I had no connections in the entertainment industry at all. I knew no one. I had a mentor. Her name is Crystal Wright, and she kind of helped introduce me to other artists. And that's not even why I got with her. I just got with her because I needed direction on how to run a business, and she was a business coach as well. But what I realized is that after being here for 10 years, like, people are in different places than what you thought. Like, that person that you may have underestimated is probably now, maybe they decided to leave makeup, now they're a producer. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's your assistant could now be doing, you know, I did shows with a girl, and I remember we did our first day with Pat McGrath together, and now she is like keying shows in Paris and Milan, and like, you know what I mean, doing these big shows. And it's just like, and she completely went into the fashion direction, right? And I went into the celebrity direction. So it's like, you don't know who you're meeting, and it's not because of where they're going that you should treat people well, because there's also people who have incredible relationships with who have left makeup, and now we're like best friends, and they don't care about makeup at all anymore, you know? But I think that it's something about keeping your, like, making sure that you always are doing good business. Like, I call it like doing good business, like making sure that you're not trying to do something under something else, and making sure that you're always clean and above board. There's not going to be, everybody's not going to like you, because that's just the reality of things, right? Like, you might walk into a room one day and maybe just how you said hey to somebody offended someone, and you're like, I didn't do anything though. I didn't do anything, you know? Yeah. So it is what it is, right? And you're not always going to be in the best mood, but I think just trying to be the best person that you can. The other thing I'll say is, don't ever take something, like, as an entrepreneur, I would say, don't take a job that you're taking for less money and you come in and give them less energy. Like, just because you're getting paid less doesn't mean that you do less. Right. It means you give them that same energy that you would have given somebody if you were getting paid the full amount that you feel like you're worth. And to me, like, that means that people can count on you and always be on time. Always be on time. Because it's like, if you're late, especially as a makeup artist, you're costing people money. Because you're the first person that the talent sees. Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? So, like, the expectation is that, you know, you'll be on time. And the person on time is going to keep the job. Like, the person who you think, I have to be talented. No, you have to be on time. Right. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's
yes, that's great advice. If you want to see her full list, go to her TikTok, because it's super, super helpful. And, you know, so giving. You just dropped a whole bunch of gems.
Thank you. That was just a random day. I was like walking around the city, and I was like, oh, you know what? I want to do this.
2 videos.
Yeah. A part 1 and a part 2.
Yes. Yes.
Really, really good.
So yes, definitely check that out. And before you leave us, we cannot have you on without talking about your podcast.
Yes.
It Takes a Village.
Yes.
So I would love for you to tell the listeners, what it's about, what inspired you to get into the podcast world.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the pandemic earlier. So when the pandemic hit, I was kind of like, what am I doing outside of this one-to-one experience with makeup? Like, what am I doing that's helping other people get to the next level in their career? Or like, I think we all just started to think about like, what is our legacy? What are we doing? So, and then I also started to think about like, am I going to be able to be in the same headspace? Like, I felt like I was about to have a major shift in terms of growth. And there's like, you get to a certain place in your career where you can still recall like what life was like when you were at a certain place. Yeah. But then there comes a point where I was listening to Bobby Brown, not the singer, Bobby Brown, the makeup artist. And she was talking about her career. And like, they ask her about her career. And in like, she talks about 20 years in like less than a minute. Like, she's like, yeah, and then we did this, and then it got acquired, and da-da-da, and then, boom, and then I started. And it was just like, it was so fast. And I was like, yeah, I got to remember more details than that, But she's been, 25 years out of a Estee Lauder sale that she made of her company where she, she did well. And then she worked for the company, but she doesn't really remember. And I was like, that's not valuable to other people, but it's also not valuable to me because when you recall where you were, you can appreciate where you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't necessarily remember how long it took you to get somewhere. Right. But then do you ever look around, you're like, wow, I got my own apartment. Like, like it's like you have a moment where you're just like, okay, like things are going well. Yeah. And it's the little things like that you don't remember. But then it's like, if you ask somebody and they have $1 million house, are they going to really be thinking about how appreciative they were when they had that apartment? No. You know what I mean? So like going back to that mindset of the apartment and being grateful and being like, oh my gosh, I was really grateful then. Yeah. Is like something I wanted to be able to recall. So I have, it started out basically with me talking to 10 people that helped me in my own journey. And I thought I was done. I was like, I started with my mom. I went all the way to like a really good friend. And I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this. And then I started to think about it. I was like, nah, this goes back to doing good business, right? I have great relationships, wonderful relationships with amazing artists and amazing like entrepreneurs. And I was like, you know what? I want to start interviewing them. So, that's where this new kind of iteration of It Takes a Village is going. And I'm really excited about it. It's like hopefully going to help entrepreneurs figure out how to build teams, how to like connect with people that they love. And like, because we think we can do so much by ourselves, but it's not until you get other people working with you do you get momentum and you can really get to the next level. So It Takes a Village has so many different meanings, but it's really about celebrating the people that help you get to where you want to go. So wow. Yeah. And while getting industry business strategy.
I'm obsessed. Yeah. And I feel like who better to host it than you?
Thank you.
I think that's really, really great. So y'all heard it here.
I feel like this is what you're supposed to do because
that's how I feel.
Because you your content alone, like if you can be engaging by yourself with a camera and even just speaking to you today and just actually having a conversation, like it makes so much sense. Yeah. Like you have a gift and you can facilitate conversations and I'm really excited to see where It Takes a Village goes. I'm sure you'll have amazing guests.
Can't wait to hear more episodes.
Thank you.
Super excited. Before we have you, unfortunately, leave us.
I know. I'm so sad.
We need to do part two. I think we need to do part two of the conversation because this was so exciting and fruitful. But I guess we'd love to know, what does the future look like for Delina?
I am diving more into this entrepreneur space. Like I want to really focus a lot more on how to bridge the gap for creative entrepreneurs, like people who have incredible talents and people who understand how to like actually sell and market their business. I don't know what that intersection really looks like right now, starting with the podcast, but I'm definitely going to be spending so much more time there. Like that's my happy place right now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we will look forward to seeing what comes out in the future. And that wraps up today's episode. Delina, thank you so much for joining us on deuxsol Radio. You truly made our day. And it was just a pleasure, getting to know you and learn about your journey. And yeah, I'm so happy. Like this was such a good conversation. Yes. Delina, if you want folks to keep up with you, drop your your socials, all of that.
Okay, so follow me at Delina Medhin. That's DELINA MEDHIN. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter at delinamedhin.com. Also, ittakesavillagepod.com if you're interested in seeing more about the show.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that wraps up today's episode. If you like what you saw and heard, you can keep up with us on our socials at DEUXSOL. That's at deuxsol. You can also watch us on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok, all of that. And you can also listen to us on anywhere that you can hear podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
Amazon
Spotify,
Music.
Amazon Music. If you can hear it, we'll be on it. Until next time, peace.
Peace.